Welcome to Rich Tribe. You know, most people spend their entire lives just trading time for money. They think true wealth is this exclusive VIP club reserved for tech billionaires or lottery winners. But look, as someone who actually built wealth from the ground up, I'm telling you right now, it is not about luck. It's a literal formula. And today, in this explainer, we're breaking down the exact math on how to buy back your life.
I want you to completely erase the idea that making a massive, sky-high income is the only key to financial freedom. It's a total myth. The reality? It's a shockingly simple math equation based entirely on what you spend. If you master this one equation we're going to show you, you can walk away from the rat race decades ahead of schedule.
So, here's how we're going to build your escape plan today. First, the simple math of freedom. Second, the savings rate cheat code. Third, picking your FIRE lifestyle. Fourth, surviving market risks. Fifth, the hidden healthcare trap. And finally, designing your very own final blueprint.
All right, section 1, the simple math of freedom. Let's just dive right into this because this is the absolute foundation of everything the wealthy know about creating a self-sustaining money machine. Okay, it all starts with something called the 4% rule. Back in 1994, a financial planner named William Bengen analyzed decades of historical stock and bond data, and what he found was incredible. If you withdraw exactly 4% of your total investment portfolio in your first year of retirement, and then just adjust that amount for inflation every year after, your money should last for at least 30 years. Often, it actually continues to grow. The famous Trinity study backed this all up in 1998. Guys, this rule is the absolute bedrock of retirement math.
Now, if you just reverse that 4% math, you get your ultimate wealth target. It's called the 25x rule. Simply multiply your annual expenses by 25 and boom, you have your exact financial freedom number. So if you spend $40,000 a year, you need an investment portfolio of $1 million. If you spend $80,000, you need $2 million. It is really that simple. Your freedom isn't tied to your salary, it is completely tied to your spending.
Section 2, the savings rate cheat code. Okay, John, hold on a second. $1 million? $2 million? For the average person, saving that kind of money sounds absolutely impossible while you're still paying rent and buying groceries. I mean, how does anyone actually get there before they're 65? That is exactly the right question, Monique. Most people look at that massive total number and just panic, but they are missing the single greatest lever in personal finance.
So the crucial point here is that your savings rate does double duty. Think of it as a dual lever. Every single time you increase the percentage of your income that you save, two amazing things happen at exactly the same time. First, you're stockpiling cash and growing your portfolio way faster. Second, and honestly, this is the secret sauce, you are actively teaching yourself to live on less, which permanently lowers the total amount of money you actually need to retire.
Just look at the math on this. If you save the standard 10% of your income, you have to work 9 years just to buy one single year of freedom. But if you can aggressively hack your life to save 50% of your income, every single year you work buys you a full year of freedom. And if you push that to 75% through extreme frugality or dramatically raising your income, you are buying a year of freedom every 4 months. You are literally hacking the timeline.
Section 3, picking your FIRE lifestyle. I hear you, John, but let's be real for a second. Saving 75% of your income usually means eating rice and beans, driving a beat-up car, and basically never taking a vacation. Not everyone wants to live like a monk just to retire early. And you don't have to, Monique. That's the beauty of the Financial Independence, Retire Early, or FIRE movement. You get to design your exact flavor.
Now, what's really fascinating is how these numbers map perfectly to your personal desires. If you want that ultra-frugal life in a low-cost area, that's lean FIRE. You only need around $625,000 to $1 million. Regular FIRE fits your median lifestyle. But if you want the luxury life, international travel and nice dinners, you're aiming for fat FIRE, which means hitting $2.5 million or more.
And I really love Barista FIRE. That's where you build up a smaller portfolio, step away from that stressful corporate job, and just work part-time somewhere fun to cover your basic expenses, and maybe snag some health insurance. It takes so much pressure off the portfolio target.
Section 4, surviving the market risks. But John, we have to address the elephant in the room here. Say you build up this $1 million portfolio, you quit your job, you pop the champagne, and the very next day the stock market crashes 30%. Doesn't all your math completely fall apart?
You just named the ultimate wealth killer, sequence of returns risk. Look, when you're still working and saving, a market crash is actually great. Stocks are basically on sale. But in retirement,
If the market tanks in your very first few years, you're forced to sell off a much larger number of shares just to get your $40,000 to live on. Because you sold so many shares at the bottom, your portfolio might actually never recover, even when the market eventually bounces back. That's why the 4% rule isn't some unbreakable law of gravity. If you're retiring at 40, your money might need to last 50 years, not 30. To survive an early market crash, research from economists and groups like Morningstar suggests taking a slightly more conservative approach. Dropping your withdrawal rate to 3.3 or 3.5% provides a massive safety net. Yes, it does mean you need to save a bit more upfront, but it guarantees you won't be broke at 85. Section 5. The hidden healthcare trap. All right, so we've padded the portfolio from market crashes, but what about the biggest, scariest wildcard out there, especially in America? Healthcare. If you retire at 45, you are 2 decades away from Medicare. How does that possibly fit into this simple math? It is a massive trap if you aren't prepared for it. Averages simply do not work here. Actuarial data from HealthView Services for 2026 shows Medicare Part B premiums jumped nearly 10%, completely outstripping regular inflation. And if you retire before 65, well, you are entirely on the hook. Individual HMO premiums in states like California or Oregon can cost between $12,000 and nearly $22,000 every single year. You absolutely must build this exact cost into your target number. The long-term reality is, honestly, sobering. Just take a look at a projected lifetime healthcare cost for a hypothetical couple, let's call them Peter and Lorraine, retiring at 65 in Missouri. If they have chronic conditions and live to 85, they're looking at over $700,000 to $900,000 in healthcare costs alone over their retirement. But look at the blue bars. If they're perfectly healthy and live to 88 and 90, their total healthcare costs actually skyrocket to over $1.3 million, simply because they live longer and need care for more years. Health is wealth, but surviving longer requires serious capital. You simply cannot stick your head in the sand when it comes to these numbers. You need the knowledge to protect your freedom. So, before we reveal the final step to design your personal blueprint, I need you to do something that secures your wealth journey right now. Subscribe to Rich Tribe channel, like, comment, and share. It's the absolute best way to ensure you never miss the strategies that actually build generational wealth. Section 6. Designing your final blueprint. Let's move forward and see how this all builds into something you can action today, because information without execution is totally useless.
Exactly. We've covered the math, the risks, and the traps. Now it's time to put it all together into a solid plan.
Okay, here is your action plan. First, write down your annual spending right now and multiply it by 25 to find your baseline. Second, audit your life. Cut the dead weight and aggressively increase your savings rate to shorten your timeline from decades down to years. Third, intentionally pick your FIRE lifestyle so you know exactly what you're aiming for. Fourth, pad your target to safely handle those healthcare costs and a 3.5% safe withdrawal rate. And finally, consider geographic arbitrage. Relocating from a high-cost city to a no-income tax state, or even abroad to places like Portugal or Thailand, can literally cut your target number in half overnight.
You know, there was an executive who once sat down with a wealth advisor. He looked exhausted. He confessed he hated his job, he hated the stress, but he just shrugged and said, "This is it for me." He accepted a life of quiet desperation simply because he wasn't willing to confront his spending and fix his math.
Guys, don't be that executive. The math is simple, the path is proven, and your freedom is entirely in your hands. Are you willing to work on your numbers, or will you accept the rat race for the rest of your life? The choice is yours.